Hey, what's up, Longhorn Nation? This is Tory Becton, Director of Football Performance. You're watching Third and Longhorn. Make sure you go click like and subscribe. Hook 'em.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a very special interview edition of Third and Longhorn. We are very excited. We have secured what might be the first full-length interview since he's been at Texas of Director of Football Performance, Mr. Tory Becton.
Yeah.
Tory, thank you so much for being here. And so we always start these off the exact same way. Obviously, most of the time it's with the kids and recruiting, et cetera. It's why Texas? How'd you get to Texas? But I think, could you take us through kind of your backstory on how you got into this all the way to how you got to Texas?
Yeah. I was born and raised in North Carolina, Eastern North Carolina, Kinston. Graduated and played football at North Carolina A&T, a small historically black college in Greensboro, North Carolina. Once I graduated and got done playing ball, I would go to all the ACC schools. Just driving to North Carolina State, Duke, Wake Forest, just to kind of get into a strength and conditioning environment, just because as a smaller school, we didn't have a strength and conditioning coach. So, I always felt like something was missing. And I wanted to kind of fill that gap, So my first job, I volunteered at my alma mater. My first jobs out of school, I was a volunteer strength coach at A&T. I sold cell phones for Sprint.
Oh, here we go.
And I was a personal trainer at a gym. So every day I put on my red polo shirt and go to Best Buy and stand there and sell cell phones to people.
Man, you speaking my language right now. That's a hustler right there. I respect that.
But then I, in all my travels to the ACC schools, I got lucky and I met my mentor, Big John Williams. He's the head strength coach at East Carolina now. Used to be at Kansas. He was the head guy at Kansas. He was the head guy at Baylor. And he connected me with Oklahoma State, and I went there and started out as a graduate assistant. And from there, he was at Baylor. He hired me at Baylor as a full-time strength coach. Stayed there for 4 years. Went to Iowa State for 2, the Houston Texans for 1. South Carolina State was my first head job. Then I went to Seattle. I got connected with Coach Sark over there. I was at Washington for 5 years, 3 years with Coach Sark, and then 2 years with Chris Peterson and his staff. Then went down to USC as an assistant, came up to Cal as the head guy. And when Sark got this Texas job, it was a no-brainer once he called me.
So basically you saying it didn't happen just overnight?
Man, listen.
Is that not how it happened?
It did not happen overnight. A lot of people talk to me about how my career went. They're like, you at Texas, that's awesome. How do I get to Texas? You got to go to South Carolina.
Let me give you the road.
Right. You got to be a volunteer.
You know what I was thinking as you was explaining it all? Y'all remember that? I've been everywhere, man. It take that sometimes.
I'm the kind of person, the way that I'm wired is I'm a committed soul. You're like, when I found something that I needed to do, that I was made to do, my job at that point is to put everything I got into it. So to leave North Carolina and take my first job, I remember selling my furniture for gas money. I'll figure the rest out when I get there. So I got to Oklahoma State, and I'm like, I got to find a place to live now. I got to find a place to do whatever. I had to do everything I needed to do once I got there. I knew my thing was just to get myself there.
Yeah.
And once I got there, I get my feet in the ground. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Now, Coach, tell me, where does that stem from? Is that your football background, that hustler type of mentality, that go-get-it mentality, or was that more so your upbringing? Was that a mom, dad influence? Who was that influence to you that had you like, I got to go get it by any means necessary?
Yeah, it was probably my mom. Just a little more backstory. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. Grew up in a single-parent home. Grew up in the projects, first-generation college graduate.
Congratulations.
So, appreciate it. But my mom, all she knew was she needed to take care of us. So she didn't shortchange herself, and she didn't shortchange us. So if she had to work 2 jobs, she worked 2 jobs. If she had to work another one, she worked another one. So that was what I saw day in and day out. And then my Uncle Gerald, my Aunt Velma's husband, he was really the only male positive figure that I had in my life growing up. So he was the kind of man, you want to play basketball, you got to come and help me with this car first. You want to play basketball, you got to come and help me with this, or we got to go pour some concrete, or we got to go change some shingles on the house or something first. So just my trade was brick masonry. I was a brick mason.
Wow.
So in my hometown, now we're going to go way off the tangent.
No, please. No, I'm interested.
Well, y'all young. But in high school in North Carolina, growing up in the 90s, if you weren't college prep, then you were tech prep. And because nobody in my family had gone to college, why am I going to go take those college classes when I ain't going to college? So it was either cabinet making, brick masonry, some kind of trade.
Right.
So my cousin had come through a couple of years before me, and he was really good at brick masonry. So the brick masonry teacher was like, "You coming with me?" So, what happens is you get into brick masonry, you win brick masonry student of the year. I won student of the year, and you get to work. You get to work
Congrats.
with him and his brother over the summer. So I got out there and I'm mixing concrete and I'm pouring mortar and I'm moving cinder blocks. And I remember thinking to myself, "Hey, man, I can't do this every day."
Yeah.
So I went back and I got into some college prep courses.
But look, I bet it's good to have. I feel like it's always good to have a trade, have a skill set.
Absolutely.
That no matter what, this will be needed, and I can do it.
Absolutely. So I can build this wall for y'all.
Yeah.
I can do some things outside.
Are you sponsoring now?
We need a new set.
Hey,
so
these summers in Texas, I ain't going outside.
but you can do it here. So we just need a new. No.
So I'm in your current position, right?
Yeah.
What does that look like? I want to make sure I say this right. Director of Football Performance.
Right.
What does the day-to-day look like for you at Texas? Because I'm sure everybody thinks he writes the workouts.
Right.
He trains the guys.
Yep.
That's it.
Just as recruiting has evolved, just as coaching tactics and methods have evolved, so is strength and conditioning. Even nutrition, you look at everything, you look at how sports science has become a big part of what we do with our player and workload management. Over the course of my time, going back to Washington when I was an assistant and Florida State had just won the national championship, and they were really big on promoting how they were able to track their players' movements and total yards and all those things, and it helped them stay healthy. Everybody else is going to jump on that trend. So while I was at Washington as an assistant, we were deciding what kind of system we wanted to utilize, and I volunteered. I want to, see what this catapult is all about and get some idea of how it works and how it moves and what are the indicators that can kind of help us out. And I educated myself to some degree on that. And then when I got the head job at Cal, it became a bigger part of what I did, a bigger part of the program. So ultimately, to answer your question, I felt like I needed to evolve myself as a strength and conditioning coach and utilize not just the strength training aspects of what we do, speed development and conditioning aspects of what we do, but we need to make sure that daily sports science was a piece of our culture and our daily activity, just as dietitian and nutrition is. And, just like anything else, information is king. Information is valuable. So as the director of football performance, I felt, and I'm, still evolving and still working at it, but being able to gather information from sports science and being able to gather information from our dietitian, as well as the information that we gain from the movements and the things that we do as strength and conditioning coaches, we're able to get and communicate out a really cool picture of what effect everything is having on our players. And that gives us an opportunity to manage our workload and manage, our players in general and try to keep them as healthy as possible.
What's so ironic about that is as I'm a visual person. So as I'm picturing all of this, I'm basically thinking to myself, you laid a foundation. Ultimately, I'm like, well, this is right on brand.
Yeah, that's where you came from.
You know what I mean? But you take in a lot of information to then determine the next course of action.
Right.
And then I'm sure at some point hand that baton off to the football decision making that's going to happen.
Yes. Whether it be the athletic trainers, share that information with them so that they can decipher what actions they need to take. Obviously, pass it up every day to the position coaches and the head coach. And just making sure that we're in constant communication about where our players are and how they're doing. And not just, the metrics, but also what the coaching eye shows. I'm old school. I'm never going to say that, well, these numbers say this.
Analytics.
What is your it doesn't matter what your eye says.
Yeah.
The eye test with coaches and the experience that we have on our staff and the level of expertise and know-how that we have on our staff, that supersedes everything.
Right. Yeah.
But if you have a question, we have some answers, or we have some things that you can cross-reference and maybe get a better picture or a bigger picture or more in-depth picture of what we're looking at.
Yeah. whenever you talk about the evolution and the change in the process that you've gone through as a strength coach and as being the director of the football performance realm, what does it look like from your standpoint whenever you were an assistant coach, whether it was at Washington versus whenever you took on the head job? And let's say you go back 10 years, what does that look like then? And then what does that look like now in today's time?
When I was an assistant, it was, yeah, mule. Run and keep running, lift and keep lifting.
That's the era Fozzy came up in.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
him, Jim Brown, all those greats. That's
Don't get us started. We know you took Earl on his official visit here. He was Earl's host whenever Earl Campbell came and took his visit.
Okay, all right.
Tolerose Senior.
No, that's so funny, man, because that's so true. It's just bigger, faster, stronger, right?
Yeah.
Like that's all it was.
That's all it was. Lift more, run harder, run more. You don't have an opportunity to break down. You got to get your ass up and keep running.
Right.
And there's still an element.
Why are you smiling when you say that?
There's still an element. There's still an element.
Smile like somebody else controls.
Little twinkle in his eye.
Still an element of it.
I just can't wait till summer. But no, I think one of the things with football's a hard sport, man. Mm-hmm. It's a tough sport.
Yeah,
played at a high level by tough people. Mm-hmm. And if we don't take the opportunities to harden and callous our players, it don't matter what those analytics say. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what those speeds say. It doesn't matter what anything says if they ain't got some element of toughness to them. And not to get up here, I'm not trying to beat my chest or talk about how tough Texas is, but I know there's a process and there's a way that you can make young men tougher. Mm-hmm. And I'm a believer in it. And that's something that I try to practice daily. If you ever hear me at practice, if you ever see me at practice, I think that, we always want to be demanding, not demeaning. Mm. And I think one of the ways that you develop some level of toughness through accountability with these players is by holding them every day to the small things, mm-hmm. to the details, to the little things. We're supposed to have our shirts tucked in. Why am I having to tell you to tuck your shirt in? Mm-hmm. If we're supposed to, not wear certain things, or we're supposed to wear certain things, then wear it. We got to have some home training. Hey, somebody pick these bottles up out of my weight room. The workout's over. Clean this area up. Mm-hmm. Make sure that when you're in the training room, take care of the things that you're supposed to. Don't leave this place a mess. Leave it like you found it. Mm-hmm. So, I think with myself and my staff and just being able to have that rapport with our players is kind of what starts to lay the foundation for who we want to be. If you come and hear us talk, I'll talk to our players a lot about what's our DNA. The things that we do every day start to become our DNA. You can't hit a light switch and decide to go be a good football team on Sunday or on Saturday in November. You can't just decide that I'm going to be good today. It's football time, so I'm going to be real.
Right.
No, you're not. If I see your ass real in June,
then you probably
at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you got to start making it a part of your DNA, and that's day in and day out, everything that we do.
A part of that, I wanna. It's funny you said June because I'm taking it back. Like, let's be honest. When you guys got here, we were not a good football team.
Right.
That's the truth. And we're becoming a good mm-hmm. football team.
Yeah.
Like a football team that is starting to become consistent. Mm-hmm. We're playing up to the level of the talent and can play with anybody. Mm-hmm. Right. A good football team. So what we found in our research, June 2021, right? You said in our quote, as you guys get better, we'll make it harder.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like something I would say.
Yeah. No, you said it. Video proof. I'm in the Young Thug trial. I'm reading. I'm like, no, you said it. Well, like, talk to, because that's heavy, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As you will make it harder. That's intention.
Yeah.
So, like, how has that played a role into what we see and in this transition of Texas in its DNA, playing hard-nosed, tough, consistent, high-level football?
When you start training a team, I think education is very important. Mm-hmm. I know how I was as a player. You tell me to go run a certain way. Well, yeah, I'll run a certain way because I love football. But mm-hmm. when I had those individuals in my life that were saying, hey, you got to run like this because, You got to run like this even when you're tired because, or you got to lift this a certain way when you're tired or when you think you can't because. Everything that came after because was what was real for me.
That makes sense.
So we wanted to make sure, we always want to make sure that our guys understand that we're going to set you up for success. We're going to build you to success. But once we get you to a level of success, well, we got to break through that ceiling and go to the next level. And we got to break through that ceiling and go to the next level. And everything, I used to say to my staff, we want to make sure that everything that we do with our players is sound from a scientific standpoint and beneficial for them as a player. So with that, we got to make sure that it's not too hot and heavy early because then you start setting yourself up for injuries. You set yourself up for some things. In my opinion, consistency is what makes it hard on the front end. I remember one of the first days we had at Cal, they wouldn't do the jumping jacks, right? So, y'all going back to the locker room. Y'all come out when y'all ready.
You sent them back to the locker room?
33 times.
33 times.
See,
That was the workout.
I knew it was a reason they wasn't winning. That don't make no sense. You ain't no way you go back to 33 times.
Until we got the warm-up right. Until we decided to do the warm-up the way that the warm-up was done. I always, maybe wrong of me, but one of my main things as a coach is I'm going to be more stubborn than the kids. I'm going to be more stubborn than them. There's going to be a time where they don't want to do it right. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's easy to not want to go all the way through 10 yards.
Right.
I got my front foot through and I just kind of stood up as I was finishing. No, you ain't finished through 10. Get your head back on the line and we'll try again. And that was, I think that day was kind of, I told my staff when we had been at it for an hour, I said, don't let me ease up on them. Don't let me try to get to the next thing.
Right.
Because to me, getting the point is more important. We'll be good enough at our jobs that we can make up the lift or the run that we missed.
Right.
We'll make that up. We'll get that back over time. We'll incrementally get that back. But it's too important for these kids to get the point of how important coming out here and standing on the line and being behind the line is. Or when we do the jumping jacks in unison, Sark is huge on uniformity.
Yeah.
So that's what we push. That's what we want to do when we try to come out and we do things a certain way. And, if you're not willing to do it the way that we ask you to do it, I got grades already. I'll get some more.
But to me, like that's what ultimately, like, that mentality is what shows up on the field in a hostile environment. Like
you can't
in those moments where you can't hear nothing.
Right.
It's like the work that we put in, the discipline that we have,
Or the uniformity.
and that's what's going to come out or not.
Yeah.
Or not. You can't. Ain't no way you can produce something you don't have it.
Right.
You don't have it. You ain't gonna have it today.
It ain't there.
So that's me. I think obviously you're doing the right thing, but I'm sure you've had to get some pushback at some point. Like you had
His
to.
face, his expression said so much without words.
I'm just like,
We literally had this conversation this morning in
Y'all
practice.
did? Yeah,
Literally had this conversation.
What I tell you,
Right.
I lift weights and I box for one reason. I'm joking.
He ain't joking.
The poor players are gonna be so scared of this video.
Well, the good thing is the guys that have been here know.
I meant for the new ones.
They think this is lovely.
Yeah,
They think this is
good. I'm thinking about
Portray.
I'm thinking about Colin.
Oh, yeah.
When he came on, he was like, "Yeah, it's tough, but I think I'm getting the hang of it." I was like,
You haven't got there yet.
"I'll talk to you in August."
they'll be different.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point you do. Coming in the door, we're different. There's a thought, an overarching thought that, there was a level of success that Texas had achieved. So we're coming in and we never say, hey, what you did before wasn't right. It was like, this is what we're going to do. And if we do it the right way and we do it consistently, we'll ultimately start winning games and we'll start becoming champions and we'll become a championship outfit. So it never became about what was done. It became about what we were doing. And, that's one thing about Sark is from the first day that he called me about this to today, it's about us, it's about we, it's about uniformity and doing things our way. So that makes my job to some degree easy because all I have to do is follow the plan. I just have to follow the blueprint.
And you got that support
from that
side.
Exactly. So that's the biggest thing.
And Coach, when you talk about that, I think we try to take people a little inside the program, right? And so for you, what does your staff look like? What does that org chart look like? How do things function?
Yeah, so the NCAA mandates that you can only have 5 strength and conditioning coaches, so the head guy and 4 assistants. So I have 4 full-time assistants, senior level assistant guys. 3 of those guys, we're starting our 8th year together.
Oh, wow.
Incredible. And my 4th guy, Joe Vaughn, I hired Joe from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had been with the Buccaneers. I thought that, coming to Texas, it would benefit us to have a person that had been where the players want to go.
Sure.
As a just a voice. I don't need everybody on your staff to be a hammer. I'm plenty hammer.
Right.
We want to have different personalities on the staff, but have different personalities that say the same thing, maybe in a different way, but we all say the same thing, and we lead the kids in the same direction.
Right.
It's mighty arrogant of me to think that when I speak, I get through to everyone every time. So I got to have people on my staff that I trust to take the message in their own way, in their own relationship with each player, and communicate what the message is that comes from the head coach, that comes down to me, that spreads through sports science, nutrition, the athletic trainers, and down to the locker room. So with the staff, you want to make sure your strength and conditioning coaches practice that linear message that we have from the head coach that comes to the head strength coach. And then you also have elements of a sports scientist. Sam Contorno, if you guys have met her. I think we got the best sports scientist in the country. She and I have really connected because I like to think we're both bilingual. We speak analytics, but we also speak strength and conditioning and ball. And we have our dietitian, Brad Solomon. He's from Wyoming, and we got him from Wyoming. He's doing a great job with the guys. The thing that really attracted me about Brad was he used to be an offensive lineman. And if you've seen him, he don't look like
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, he only the biggest thing was, he learned how to have a relationship with food. So it ain't a pill that you go take to lose weight or gain weight. It ain't a shake that you drink once or twice. It's having a relationship with food and understanding your relationship with food and supplementation. And we make sure that he kind of has the platform to be able to communicate those things to our players.
As I'm hearing it, I'm thinking of a leader that has put his ego in his back pocket for the greater good of what's best for these kids now, right? And later. Yeah. And it just makes me think of all the guests that we've had on here that talks about the buy-in and the genuine care in the building.
Right.
What we experienced when we were there. And then, we won a Big 12 championship. You guys, congratulations.
Thank you.
Are Big 12 champions for the last time ever before we go take some SEC banners. Right? So talk to me about the buy-in that you've seen from the players specifically.
Yeah.
And then how it looks now, comparatively speaking, to before, the harvest came. Because it's different when you're talking about it. You're talking about it. I'm believing it. And now I'm like, you know what? When we listen, we win.
Yeah.
Like, what's it feel like over there right now?
Hopefully I can recite this the right way. I used to say this in 21. When we first got here, I don't know where I came across it, but it was Bruce Tuckman's 5 stages of group development.
Okay.
And you talked about forming, storming, norming, performing, and then adjourning. And we tried to. I sounded smarter than I really am.
Man, I'm not gonna lie to you.
That was phenomenal, though. I was following him. I'm still following him.
NBA, he's on fire. This is
right. But the thing that I thought was really important, especially that first year with those group of guys, we had a really good-looking football team. They were strong. They were fast. They could run. They could do things. They were a really good group of guys. They were a really good group of guys. And we wanted to just kind of get these guys going in this direction with us. And not to say that everybody was going in the other direction. We had a population of people that were, okay, this is new. There's an opportunity for me. Let's take this opportunity and make the best of it. There were some guys that were like, well, I've had success doing it the other way. So this is what I know.
Right.
And at the end of the day, our job is to wrangle them up and get them going that way, because that's the way that our head coach said we're going. And, I thought it was a good idea, You know, when you have a lot of strong personalities, sometimes you don't fight force with force. They have strong personalities. I have a strong personality. Let me teach them something instead of trying to overwhelm them, overpower them. You know, the 5 stages that talked about forming. Hey, we're deciding at this point what we're going to do. You know, some of us want to do this, some of us want to do that, but we have to, as a unit and as a team, decide to go here together.
Yeah.
Once we get to forming, you're going to have some, you know, people who say, well, like I said, I've had success doing it this way, or this coach showed it to me this way, and I feel comfortable doing that. At that point, we start storming.
What storming mean?
Right. That sounds like your favorite part.
Storming, well, it gets real when we disagree.
Gotcha.
It gets real when we fight a little bit and we start to, you know, really get real with who we are and what we think and what we want to do and what we want to be.
Right.
And we stormed. We had some good storms, you know. And, you know, again, the leadership that we had to have was to get these strong personalities, these really good players that are at this major university and brand to kind of see it the way that we're trying to present it. So it was, we gotta figure it out. We gotta fight through this. We gotta get on the same page. We gotta, hey, sometimes it's gotta be a hard correction. Other times it's gotta be a, hey man, look, we talked about this before. You gotta get on board and it's gotta start being consistent, whatever the case is. Then once the storming takes place, now you start to norming. You start to normalize. You start to kind of settle into what you're going to do and how you're going to be and what we're going to do. And once we start normalizing, now we're able to go out and perform.
Right.
And then we play a certain way. We start to show some signs of the uniformity. We start to show some signs of what's becoming a part of our DNA as far as togetherness in a family. And then once you're done performing, once the season is over, you adjourn, you kind of decompress and you get yourself back and ready to start forming again, because the thing that we try to teach our guys is that last season is last season.
Right.
It's done and it's gone. We've adjourned and we got to come back and formulate who we are again.
Man, well, that's the first time I've ever heard that, like, put into systematically articulated in that. Like, it's like everyone's always wondering what the special sauce is or how that happens, and that was awesome.
I mean, when you think about it, though, it's like, think about the 22 season. It was a lot of we play away.
It felt
like we you know what I mean? And then you go through that same process again, and you come back to that 23 season. There are a couple of times where it
was teetering.
And we managed to make the play.
To be on the
one of my
side.
favorite games. I was standing on the sideline. One of my favorite games of the season. You'll never guess it. U of H.
Yeah.
Because of the way that, like, you get up big. I was like, you know what?
It's a wrap.
I'm going to go ahead and hit this parking lot before this traffic get crazy.
It's a wrap.
And then it's like, oh, you know what? No, it's not. Actually, we dealing with a lot of injuries across the board.
Yeah.
Right? And actually, you got a lot of cats that's coming back. What's his name? Jade Kane? From the Jade came
supposed to play.
I'm like, man, you got all of this going on into you lose your leader in QB1.
Yeah.
QB1 out.
Yeah.
And now this thing is real, as you said.
Yeah.
And them boys stepped up when it mattered to make the play to go home with the W. Right? And I'm like, man, this is like, I believe it's those kind of moments that ultimately
absolutely
start adding up into it.
You don't rise and fall to your opposition. You rise and fall to your training and your preparation.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the guys have confidence. That team had confidence in how we trained them, how we prepared them. The special situations with the coaching and the meetings that we have, you know, the way that we trained them in the summer and the way that we prepared them mentally and physically. I'm a believer in mental toughness to physical adversity. You got decisions to make today, baby. You got decisions to make. So, you know, it's all credit to our kids, because another thing that we tell them is we can't go out there and play for you.
Right.
You got to go out there and execute.
Right.
You got to go out there and see and get the signs and get the cues and get all the signals and understand what the adjustments are and how to go out there and execute and do the things that we coach you and prepare you to do.
Yeah. That's interesting too. You bring that up. Obviously, you talked about adjourning and finished last season. Now you're in, I'm not sure what part at this moment, but the forming, storming, and the norming stage with this new team of 2024. One of the things that came up over the past 3 years and what I was most intrigued about, what you all brought to the table, I don't know if this was your idea or Sark or whoever it is, the T-shirt in the offseason, wearing the certain colors, taking accountability for it, then having teams be responsible for each other, then making that a competition in and of itself.
Yeah.
Where did that idea come from, and how does that help create that team and family atmosphere, which we saw be very evident in that 2023 team that played for a college football playoff?
Sure. That concept is not new in college football. I think that we added some nuances between conversations with myself and Sark and Chris Gilbert. We had some conversations with my staff, and we just kind of figured out, one of the things that we always say very loosely is you got to wear it. Whatever it is that you do day in and day out, you got to wear it. And that became something that we wanted to do. Hey, this is what you did based on who you showed yourself to be and the things that you did or didn't do this week. This is what you're gonna. This is
what you wear.
You get what you earn. And we felt very strongly about that. And it's funny because it's a really small thing. It's almost an adolescent thing, but because the guys are such competitors.
Yeah.
Because they're such competitors, I get an opportunity to get to a black shirt. That black shirt look cool. It's got stars on the back and so on and so forth. And guys want to get to that black shirt because it's a badge of this is what I decided to do during the week. This is how I decide to live. This is what kind of teammate and what kind of young man I decided to be.
It's not even the shirt. It's what it represents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the guys who may have fallen short in some areas or some days, and they have to go down a level from week to week. And, it's guys coming to my office early in the morning about 5:45, like, Coach, why my shirt?
Yeah. So they don't know ahead of time.
They know what they did.
No. I'm saying
think they not getting
saying like if let's say I'm in the black.
Yeah.
And I
You
come
go
to
down
my
to
locker.
orange, and it's orange.
That's what I'm saying. I'm in the black on Thursday.
Yeah.
I can show up Friday and my locker, my black shirt missing.
Monday.
Because
you wear it for the week.
Okay.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
my
staff and I sit down and we gather up all of our intel from all over the place, and we sit down for a couple of hours and we go through every player and what the intel says, and we shoot the information over to the equipment managers, and the next day, and that's what they have.
Well,
That's what they have.
Coach, look, we've all been around this program for a long time, and it took this turn in the last 10 years where Texas was known as a 5-star players, 3-star culture, all this kind of stuff. Texas can't develop talent, and it's not a knock on anyone of the past or anything, but I think with the draft coming up in a few weeks, your name or a couple weeks now, like your name has started to pop up a lot because I think things have shifted so much, right? We have you go to pro day, or we have Fozzy covering pro day. We got 11 guys that they're talking about in the draft, right? There's all these things. What to you has been the reason for that shift? Do you think it was a drastic level in, change of recruiting, change of talent, or do you think it's the culture and that, and how things have progressed?
I think it's the culture. I think it's the belief in the kids and the commitment to, buying into and becoming believers, and what we're asking them to buy into and believe. If you're a good player, which we go get good players, and you come in and you do things the way that we ask you to, and you do things the right way, and you're deliberate and intentional about the things that we ask you to do, then you're going to reap the benefit of it. And it shows up in team success leads to individual success. Right. And we had a team of believers and guys that started to buy into and believe that concept. And it showed in those guys being able to be rewarded with opportunities at the combine and having certain audiences to come out and check them out on a pro day.
Yeah, that makes sense. And when you talk about, everything, all the forming, the storming, all of these things, is it something that it's mainly you're fully relying on your staff, or is that something where, as the program has built, that the kids are taking care of that a lot too? Some of the older guys or some of the ones that just bought in? Everybody's
bought in.
Yeah.
It's players, holding other players accountable and buying in. It's the strength staff. It's the coaching staff. Everybody's involved. We don't say, hey, all right, you guys got them. We're going out recruiting. Right. We're not that outfit.
Right.
We're all involved. We communicate. We're in constant communication because that's the only way that we can provide the nurture that's needed for this number of people. Right. The strength staff is only 5 guys. You add the sports scientist, that's 6, and the dietitian, that's 7. That's still not enough. So, we have to have leaders also, but the coaching staff still has a huge role in that piece to the whole thing. We're not just hey, here's your assignment, line up the right way. There's their availability for the things that we need when it comes to off-season things, when it comes to culture and accountability things also.
So what's that looking like right now? Because, I mean, you don't accidentally get 11 guys in the draft. You don't accidentally have a record that you guys had last year, and then it comes with the expectation that I'm sure that the rest of the outside world has this year, right?
Yeah.
But how's it looking to date for the team now? Is it one of those things where me, early enrollee, I'm stepping into this and I'm kind of feeling my way through? Or is it like you step into this and immediately you feel the expectation from just the culture here?
Well, we kind of try to keep our earmuffs on when it comes to outside noise.
Yeah.
You know, Sark says
Talking about Nick Shuley, right?
How did I become the outside noise?
You look like a good sportscaster, Nick.
I'm the message board guy. It's like,
You know, we want to, obviously these guys kind of understand what they're coming into. You feel it right away because our guys do a good job of leading. The guys that were here previously, the guys that were here last year, they do a good job of setting the expectation and the standard when these younger guys come in. Like, hey, don't just sit in the locker room till 2 minutes before it's time to start. Let's get up. Let's go outside and start foam rolling or going over the hurdles. Or, hey, that's not what we do. Make sure you go put the right thing on. Or, hey, that's not what we do. Take your jewelry off, whatever the case is.
Right.
So I don't know that they have necessarily the opportunity to hear the outside stuff before they hear and get the inside stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing.
That's so important.
That's incredible. Speaking of early enrollees, what does that process look like for you as well, right? So probably 10 years ago, nobody would have ever questioned the number of early enrollees being past probably 6, right? Now you fast forward to today's time frame. You look at this previous recruiting class, you got probably over 75% of the recruiting class have already enrolled and are taking part in spring practice and academics. You look at what Arch said, and I got the quote right here. He mentioned graduating early. It's definitely been a great head start for me. Coach Becton and his staff have been very helpful. I've gotten bigger, faster, stronger. He's going to push you, and he wants what's best for you. He asked you the first day you're here, what do you want to do, and what are your goals? He's going to help you get there. That's his job. That's why he's the best. What is it like transitioning from 10, 15, even 20 years ago, not having early enrollees, and then having to get them acclimated in today's time whenever the majority of them are coming in January?
I think that's the point of it, is they want to get in and become acclimated sooner to the college life. One of the things that I've long said to young people is you don't play as a young guy because you're big or fast or strong. Everybody's big, fast, and strong. Mm-hmm. You play as a young guy because you can handle everything. Mm-hmm. You can handle the football. You can handle the consistency required. You can handle waking up in the morning, staying on schedule, staying on task, doing the things that you need to do. Yeah. So I think, a lot of people have seen the benefit of coming in early and getting yourself acclimated without having to worry about boom, and now you're playing.
Right.
Now you get an opportunity to get a winter off season. You get an opportunity to get a spring ball type season. Then you go into the summer and you get a second off season.
Right.
And then you go into camp and you go into the real season. So I think there's just been so much value placed on being able to get acclimated and become a part of the system that you're going into, that it just is the natural evolution, in my opinion, of what college football is going to be. Mm-hmm. More people want to get there sooner and get started.
Is that a change in program for you? Like, are the early kids doing something completely different on, let's say, day one off season?
Yeah.
So they have a completely different program.
We always, my staff and I talk about slow cooking the players. You don't want to rush it, because the things that we teach them are going to be so beneficial to them. For example, my first year, I never wanted to talk about what we do, because I was going to be the strength coach that's at Texas that tells people not to lift heavy weights all the time. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to stand up and say that, because we didn't know what we were going to do. And we ended up at 5 and 7, which I'm fine. I'd wear that. But, at the time, imagine this, Byron Murphy, and he's training with a young defensive lineman, or a young defensive lineman is training with Byron Murphy. That's not safe for that kid.
Right. Not at all.
That's not safe for that
Not at all.
Time out. Wow. That's a strong statement.
That's not safe.
Brad Murphy was on Bruce Spellman's
Wait, he's not saying that it's not ideal. He's not saying that we don't prefer
that young kid gonna get hurt.
It's not safe for the kid.
It's not safe. Same thing if we get some freshman guys that try to get out there and work at the rate that Xavier Worthy works at and run as fast as he does, as often and as frequently and as long as he does, that trying to keep up is going to get you.
You're going to find out real quick.
You're trying to find out.
What's that saying? Hung around, find out.
Right. I got you. So what we want to do is we create a natural divide. We have a regressed version of the program that our younger guys do. And what I'll do is I'll assign a different assistant strength coach to deal with them, because I don't think it's all the way right to have one guy do anything all the time, because he's missing out on time with the guys who you can train hard and push. So we'll get those guys at a different end of the weight room, or we'll separate them, kind of create a natural divide on the field. And, we may ask our guys to do certain things when we're conditioning, and we'll have the young guys watch one and do the second one. Or you do all the even reps, or we'll cut their volume in half so they can get more recovery. And, football players are resilient people.
Yeah.
Once you see it, once you kind of get your exposure to it and it kick you in the gut a little bit, you'll come back out the next time and you'll perform better.
Absolutely.
But we do believe it's our job to keep the kids safe, that we'll go and we're good enough at our jobs that we can slow down and catch them up later.
Yeah. All right, I got one for you, Coach. It's a little bit different. Give me the name that comes to your mind when I say on the team right now, the guy that truly exemplifies what you're trying to instill in the team.
It's a lot of them.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
I just saw 3 or 4 faces.
Yeah.
God.
And I mean, and it don't have to be, a guy, but it's like, you know what? You can point out a couple of them, but just like these guys do it the way that we want it done.
Just the first faces that popped in mind: Quinn Ewers, Mike Taft pops out. You got Sid Baxter, Anthony Hill, Alfred Collins, Kelvin Banks, Jake Majors. A lot of these guys.
You got a group of guys that's leading the way.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
you got guys who you expect to perform a certain way, but they also do things right.
Right.
They're the ones that do things the most right. And we always try to elevate those guys and put those guys in position to be seen so that they can lead and give the young guys an example of, hey, this is how I should do things, so that they can start to mimic those actions that become behaviors, that become habits.
But that's the whole locker room, though. What I mean is, like, as now I'm thinking about these guys that you're mentioning, when a locker room, I don't care what university it is, I don't care what sport it is.
Right.
When the locker room has everybody from the former walk-on to the highest graded recruit in the locker room that they've seen in Quinn and Taft. And I mean, that encompasses everything in between.
You're right.
And they're doing things the way that, a championship caliber squad should be doing it. It's scary. It can get scary. It can get scary. It can get scary. All right, Coach. This is probably the most important question here. All right. You got 4 little girls.
I got 4 little girls.
There we go.
Are they into athletics? And if so, as a girl dad, as a fellow girl dad,
There we go.
are they into any sports? And if so, what have you introduced them to, and what do they love about it? And I'm kind of more so asking for tips and tricks of the trade.
Well, my girls are 7'6", 4, and almost 2.
Bless you.
So bless my wife.
There's a lot of estrogen in the house, man. There's a lot of energy in the house right there, man.
So our oldest daughter, Aria, she just started playing volleyball.
Nice.
She don't play it. She just started going out to volleyball. Okay. But no, right now, because of these girls' age, they're really into the stuff that they have at home, the toys. Being around each other. The older 3 girls really just kind of hang out and play with each other. Now, I'll tell you this. My wife is an All-American sprinter and jumper at Miami.
Oh, wow.
Hey,
Yeah.
good job.
Oh, yeah.
Good job. Yeah.
And I met her in Austin at the University of Texas.
Turn up.
She was a senior at Miami. I was a young strength coach, and I just met, fist bump.
Yeah.
And
look out now. Look out now.
Facebook.
You know about that. Open that Facebook chat. That bottom.
Right.
Hey,
Hey, big head.
big head.
But
See you on that 4x1.
She's the first lady.
Good start out the block.
Good start, right.
I could help with that.
It was actually the opposite. I added her as a friend on Facebook. She accepted the friend request, and we didn't say anything to each other for like 4 or 5 years.
Goodness.
Oh,
great.
years.
Wow, that's a long
That's
game.
what he mean by
That's
slow
long game.
cooking.
Right.
So,
Well, 3 Avenger movie came out.
but I think I was leaving the Houston Texans and I was going to South Carolina State for my first head job. And I sent her a message one night and she was saying, I got family in South Carolina. I'm like, when you come down, let me take you to lunch.
There you go.
There you go.
Let me take you to lunch.
There you go.
Yeah.
Man, I love that. That's
But
amazing.
the girls we do have plans for them to be in athletics. But with what I do, I've learned the negative effects of early specialization.
Yeah.
You know, they've done some soccer things before. They obviously run. And now volleyball. This is a lot different because volleyball is such a skill-dominant sport as opposed to your physical tools. I think our girls have some amazing physical tools already that you can tell. But, you know, it'll take some time. Boy, I'll be out there stressed out. Watching her do volleyball practice. This is 6 o'clock at night, so I'm on Tuesday night. I'm over there like...
Oh yeah, you trying to make it through.
And then I'm looking, what?
I bet she looking back. She looking back to make sure you looking. She looking back to make sure you looking. Like, good job, baby. You're doing great, sweetheart.
Send it to Coach Elliott.
Good job. You touched the ball, baby. Yeah.
Well, Coach, what is obviously your schedule's tight between, you know, all the things you're doing for work and obviously having four young girls. Like, what does fun look like for you? What outside of football do you look forward to? Oh man.
Yeah. Okay. He really thinking.
I mean, are there restaurants? Are there?
This why we gonna win a lot of games.
Well, I got a little bit upset with that because I was like, damn, she's right. I am a workaholic.
Oh, my bad.
Self-reflection.
I just really want to be good at what I do.
Yeah,
I love it.
That gives me a lot of that fulfills me. You know, just you know, go back. Everybody has triggers. You know, go back to my triggers. Not having solid whatever, not having definitive whatever.
Yeah.
And right now, my correlation is if I'm good at my job, then I'm able to provide solid and definitive things for my family.
right. Love it.
And that's what I need.
That's a great answer.
You give me that. That's all I care about. I don't have to have fun. I don't have to. Now I'll go and enjoy a cigar every once in a while. You know, I'll do something like that, but I don't have to. I'm not a, hey, I need to take a vacation. I'm not that person. I get vacation when football is done with me. You know, I tell our players that you better give her everything you got because she's gonna be done with you at some point.
Right. Yes.
And if you give football everything you have, she'll continue to take care of you.
Yes.
And football is continuing to take care of me. So I feel obligated to keep giving to football until I can't anymore. Just like when I was playing. I had 5 knee operations when I was playing. She got done with me.
Yeah.
But when she was done with me, I had given her everything I had. So now she decided to still keep taking care of me.
There it is.
So that's the thing that I try to impart on our players is keep giving to football. Because the best football players, the best athletes have some level of obsession with them.
Right.
And as long as you can kind of tap into that, you're going to get as much as you can out of this. And I think that I tap into it with my career and the way that I go about my career. I don't relax a lot, you know, but I have so much fulfillment from what I do, being able to come and as a strength coach, not just have a room of guys, but have an audience with the entire team. And, you know, that weight and that magnitude is not lost on me.
Yeah.
Like I speak to everybody. Everybody doesn't always listen, but I have an opportunity every day with my presentation or whatever my message is to support what Sark says and to kind of, you know, bring my own spin to it a little bit so that it kind of penetrates and permeates through the team. But my wife is kind of getting me to relax a little bit, go do things.
Yeah. Sounds so defeated. Coach, he's winning me over.
Respectfully,
I gotta admit this publicly.
Respectfully,
He's like, cut this.
I know your wife has never been wrong about anything ever in her life. And she probably not wrong about needing you to relax.
Right.
But as a guy that has bled orange for a long time, I appreciate your process as it is. I will word that like that. I appreciate your process as it is.
So now when I don't take any time off in May, you gave me some footing.
You can run the tape on it. No, well, Coach, I know we've taken up a bunch of your time. Thank you so much for coming out, man. We'd love to have you back. This was awesome.
Man, you dropped some jewels on the
Seriously.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you guys. Love what you guys are doing. I love, excuse me, I love you guys giving our players a platform to kind of be free and be expressive and be themselves. So that's kind of awesome. That's cool. I learn even more about our players by listening to them when they come here. So I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, man. Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.
Welcome.